not like a freaking Egyptologist over here. I'll fight you in the streets. I was like, oh my God, I can't. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books that I have read recently. The first one will be very, very quick because it is a volume of Monstrous, and don't want to like get too much into what actually happened in this one since it would be spoilery. I love Monstrous. This is by Marjorie Liu with the illustrations done by Sana Takeda. And I say every single time I pick one of these up, they are just truly stunning, stunning illustrations. Like, I'm trying to find one that like wouldn't be a spoilery thing. They're just so pretty. They're just so pretty. The colors, the actual like artwork itself. Here, like, see the colors? So pretty. It probably doesn't translate very well on camera. Monstrous, if you don't know, is a graphic novel series that is following this main character here, Maika, and it's very complex. Volume 1 I had to read 2 or 3 times. I think I read it and then I read it again and then I read volume 2 and then I was like, wait, what? I had to read volume 1 again. There's just a lot going on. It's a very fantastical world. There's people who are basically like animal beings that are like fully animals but like walk around on their back legs and walk around like people and talk and have kingdoms and things. And then there are humans, and then there are kind of like mixed race, and then there's a race of cats that are just regular cats, except some of them have like extra tails. They have like 9 tails or 3 tails, and they are very wise. They are professors and things. Some of them are like fighters, warriors, and they're the best. And yeah, it's just a lot of politicking going on amongst these worlds. There's gods, old gods walking among us, gods possessing people, scientific experiments going on some people. Just, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot, but it's so good and so sad in parts and tragic and gory as well. Body horror warnings, fair warning. There's a fair amount of that going on, but I love it so much. I love Maika. I love Master Ren, the cat that is with Maika a lot. And Kippa. Kippa is so cute. And there were things in here that just, we got a lot of reveals in here too, and it was a good installment. I enjoyed it. I gave this 4.25 stars. Next up, I read 9 of Swords by Brooklyn Quintana, and this was graciously sent to me by the author. She reached out and asked if I would be interested, and I actually had this on my Storygraph to read for the longest time, and I recognized the cover when she sent her email, and I was like, oh, heck yeah. And yeah, she sent me this, and it is a chunker. This took me a while to read. I've been reading very slowly over the last several months in general, but certainly a big chunker like this will take me a while right now, and this one certainly did. This is, I'm torn on, I don't know if it's technically young adult or adult, like what it would be categorized as. I would think young adult, because the main character really, it's called the Phineas Fogg series. This is book 1. And he is a 12-year-old. But we also do get POVs from other characters, some of which are adults. So, and it's third-person point of view. But yeah, we're following Finn most of the time, but we do follow other characters who are older than Finn and stuff. It's a fantasy series, fantasy book, very fantastical world. Finn is part of the royal family. Finn's mother died in childbirth with him, or right after he was born. And he was raised kind of outside of the court with his sister and his father, and it's his uncle who is the king. And they go travel there because Finn and his one cousin are of the age to go to the Moranci Academy of Military Arts. And they have to go through this training to then become part of the military as they get older and things. And that's kind of the premise. So I ended up being kind of torn on this book as far as, like, I didn't dislike it by any means. I enjoyed it. But it's like, I can't determine yet if I enjoyed it enough that I'm like itching to continue with the series or not. I'm a little bit in the middle of the road on that. So I'll give you some pros and cons. Some pros, I really enjoyed these characters and their dynamics, like from the get-go. Particularly, like in the first 20%, I was really vibing with this book. That was when we were meeting the characters. They were traveling to the royal palace, meeting their hanging out with their cousins, interacting with the royal family a little bit more. Some things ensue. There's some drama, there's a little tragedy, and we're there, and then the whole middle chunk towards the end is them at the academy, really, I'm guessing, but it's like around that much of it is at the academy. But this whole first part before they go to the academy, I was really, really vibing with it. I just really liked the characters, I got to know the characters in that bit, and I felt like a pretty immediate connection with them, I guess, an immediate like, I like them, they're cool. I felt like the characters were very well written. And the friendships between the kids, so wholesome, so cute. And I really enjoyed how Finn and his cousin Holland, how their relationship went. It went on a journey, and I liked where it ended up. I really, really liked where it ended up. I also really liked this world, the fantastical creatures we get to see. There's like a little kind of sentient bat named Buttons. It's so cute. There's other creatures too, like basically like little familiars, kind of. They don't talk necessarily, but they kind of can clearly understand human speech. And it's not like every animal in this world, but there are just certain special ones. And then we have like mermaids, some of which are evil and conniving, and some that are helpful. There's, I think there were dwarves or something, goblins, all other made-up creatures. It was a lot, and I really enjoyed all of that and just the world in general. My con, though, my biggest con is really the whole middle part when they're at the school. It wasn't exactly my cup of tea as far as mostly the pacing. It was very, very slow-paced. So if you're someone who enjoys a very slow-paced kids at school, I also am just not a huge school setting reader. I don't mind it, but it's not something I love. So spending that much time and a lot of it was just kind of like their training. I also am not a huge training sequence person. And it was a lot of what felt to me, being the type of reader I am, like repetitive training and repetitive sequences of them just kind of at school learning some stuff. I've seen a lot of reviews of people like loving the school setting. That's their favorite part, getting to know the kids and seeing everything they're doing. So again, if you're that kind of reader, then this would not be a con for you. It's just I'm the kind of reader that it was a little bit of a con for me. So I was like a little bit disappointed that I didn't love that element of it and that I didn't love the middle section, because I still really love the characters a lot. I think that for me, it would have been a higher rating and a overall, yay, I want to scream from the rooftops about it reading experience if the plot had just been a little tighter in the middle. If a few things had been cut out, just kind of culled the herd a little bit, just not completely sold. And so overall, it ended up being a 3-star read for me. Maybe 3.25. Yeah, 3.25, I would say. Because it was, like, I liked the characters enough that it was, and I liked the world enough where it was, like, slightly above totally middle of the road. So, 3.25. Oh my god, I just sneezed so aggressively. Looks like I'm crying, but I swear I'm not. Oh my god. Ah, my eyes water, make my nose run. Anyway, next I finished, freaking finally, The Woman Who Would Be King by Kara Cooney, Hatshepsut's Rise to Power in Ancient Egypt. This is a very small nonfiction book about Hatshepsut, but I was listening to it on audio pretty much in its entirety. I think I read maybe 10 pages in physical form. So yeah, I listened to it on audio, and I just don't listen to audiobooks frequently. I really only listen to audio at the gym when I'm doing cardio only, which I don't do that much cardio, and then like in the car sometimes. So, and when I'm in the car, it's for like 10 minutes. So it just took me forever. I think it's been like 2 months, 3 months or some shit. But I don't really rate nonfiction typically, but I enjoy this overall. It's weird because with like ancient Egypt, and I don't know that much about it. I'm not like a freaking Egyptologist over here. But even in this book, like she is an Egyptologist, and she talks about that, like the texts and stuff, like they were very kind of hush hush about putting things in writing. They didn't put a lot of daily minutia in writing. They certainly weren't putting down like personal feelings about things and opinions in writing. Most of the writing that exists to this day is very like officially presented court business, and like the story the leader of the time wanted to be told type of thing. So it's so much speculation, and she addresses this in like the, I don't know, author note in the beginning, that like in the book she says like, we don't know, maybe she felt like this, maybe she felt like that at the time, maybe she did it because of this reason, maybe she did it because of this, like kind of positing a few options of like why we got to this end result based on the information that we have. Here's the various options it could be. So, you know, it's like educational for sure and informative, but not that much that is super concrete and super like, this is what happened. So it was like a weird experience, I guess. And like I said, I'm not an Egyptologist, so I didn't like know that going into it, that that's kind of how it would be. But I feel like I remember her saying in the author's note at the beginning that like, especially during this time specifically, it's all very secretive. And like, we got to put the pieces together based on the monuments and like the inscriptions on the monuments and like what was in their tombs and what that means and things like that. So it was interesting, but not the most groundbreaking, oh my God, I want to tell everybody about this and everybody needs to read this. But if you're interested in ancient Egypt history, it was fascinating to see about this woman who somehow ended up being one of the only kings in ancient Egypt, and how she got there and how she kind of maintained her rule. It was interesting, so I enjoyed it. And then I picked up The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. It's a shiny library copy here, sorry. I really like this cover though, it's so cute. I will probably be purchasing a copy of this because, spoiler alert, I really loved it. Elle had talked to me about this. I've seen various people reading it, but she had like messaged me personally and was like, I think you would really enjoy this. Like, it's so wholesome but kind of sad, and they get into deep topics, but it's ultimately like uplifting and heartwarming and like blah blah. And so I was like, okay, I am intrigued. So I got it from the library. It's pretty short, and you can see I tabbed several things, positive things, of like moments that made me laugh, that were like funny, clever, you know, banter between characters or stuff like that. Several emotional moments, and then a couple of quotes to save, or at least one quote to save. One or two. And yeah, I just really liked it. So the premise is we're following a young woman who's like 25 or something like that, who is a kindergarten teacher's aide. She doesn't really have any family, and a little boy that is in her class, in one of her classes, his parents pass away suddenly, and there's a week period where he lives with her while they're like figuring out what to do with this kid, because he just has a bond with her. She's the person he called to like tell her like, hey, my parents have died. So he lives with her for like a week, but then he has to go into foster care, and he ultimately has a pretty good foster home. When we meet him and her, where like he's being cared for on like all the essentials, but they have two young infant foster children as well who are sickly, so he just doesn't get a lot of attention. There's not a lot of like warmth and love in the home, but he's not like in a bad situation. But obviously Lucy, our character here, like loves this kid, and she wants to foster to adopt. But she's broke, lives with 3 roommates, doesn't have a car, and just she's not gonna be able to do this without some money, without her own place, without a car, mode of transportation and things. So she's trying to save up money to adopt this kid. And she bonded with him over this children's book series called the Clock Island series. And it's a series that she loved when she was a child, and she has kind of a history with it. And then there's this competition that gets announced, and there's money involved for the winner of this competition, and things ensue from there. And I'm not kidding, in the first chapter, I got emotional, I got teary-eyed. It's just like Lucy and Christopher, the kid, and her talking about both of them wanting her to be his mom, and like it was just so like, oh my god. And like their banter together, and like immediately I was like, I love Lucy. Like Lucy is so great. Let me see. And maybe this is why I loved her, because the very first thing I tabbed, I was like, I feel like that's something I would say. Because, okay, at work, at my job, I like was known for jokingly always being like, I'll fight you in the streets. I'll fight somebody in the streets. Like I always will say crap like that. I say it to my boyfriend. I'll be like, you want to go? I'll fight you out in the streets. Like just being stupid. They're talking and he's saying he's not cool. She's like, I think you're cool. And he's like, well, you don't count. Teachers have to think all kids are cool. Yes, but I'm the coolest teacher's aide, so I know these things. She gave each sock one final tug up his leg. You aren't. Christopher dropped his feet onto the floor and clutched his blue backpack to the stomach like a pillow. I'm not? Who beat me? I'll fight her in the parking lot. Like, just so silly. Like, he's 7 years old and he like laughs or whatever. And it's just so freaking cute. And then, yeah. Oh my God. So cute and sad. And like, he has trauma, obviously, because of what he experienced. And she just is so like, I want to protect this kid. I want to love this kid. Like, I just want to be his mom desperately. And it's so cute. Oh my God. And like, she has a side business knitting scarves and selling them on Etsy. And she's like, he knows it's like their little business. The name of it is like a thing with them. And he helps her like write the notes that go with the packages sometimes. And he knows that it's like to help her save so that she can adopt him someday. And he's like, I wish for it to be cold. And she said, you want it to be cold? Why? And he said, so you can sell a lot of scarves. And I was like, oh my God, I can't. That was the end of chapter 1. And I was like fucking crying. I'm gonna cry right now. It's so cute though. And there's just other characters that we meet that are so great, that I love so much. And yeah, ultimately it was just so heartwarming. There's definitely sad moments for sure. The only reason that this wasn't a solid like 5-star, oh my God, I cannot get over it, because that's kind of what 5 stars tend to be for me. I'm stingy. But there was just a couple of things that I felt like were a little bit surface level that I wish had been a little deeper. We had delved into slightly deeper. I kind of understand why these things were made surface level, but still, ultimately, I didn't, because the focus of the book, the main like thematic element is definitely like children and the need for love and attention as much as, and affection as much as, you know, just the essentials in life, right? Things you need to survive, a roof over your head, food on the table, like safety in the home for sure, but then like also love and attention and affection. That was kind of, and like just childhood trauma and how these things can affect us for so long. And if it's not healed, like it can affect us our whole lives. Like that was the main thematic element. And so there was a couple of things touched on, like without spoiling anything, there is like an ex in Lucy's life that there were like hints that I caught, that, I mean, you're supposed to catch. There were hints of like narcissistic abuser situation, and like having been in a situation like that in the past, like I clocked it and like it's not like I wanted the focus of the book to change to that, because that's not the focus of the book, but it was just like so lightly like hinted at. I just like one more conversation about it, like a deeper conversation about it would have been nice. And then there's an element of like a familial relationship with one of the characters that the end result of that by the end of the book, I didn't love. I didn't hate it. It didn't like ruin the book for me, but I just was kind of like, oh, okay. I'm being very vague because I don't want to spoil anything. But like I said, I didn't want those things to take over because that wasn't the point of the book. But they were there, and so because they were there, I just wanted a little bit more, you know? So that's the only reason I ended up giving this 4.5 instead of a solid 5. I debated with like 4.5 or 4.75. I don't know. What do I... Yeah, I think 4.5. Yeah. I gotta go with that. It was really short too, just overall. So it was like short and sweet. You know, for this type of book to be like solid 5, I think it just would have needed to delve a little deeper into like all of these things. You know, be like slightly longer, a little bit more time with a couple of things, and then it probably would have been 5 stars solidly. But I really loved it. Highly recommend. And that is all I have for now. Those 4 things. Yay. And I have been kind of picking up my reading now, so fingers crossed that it doesn't take me months to read the next couple of things that I am in the middle of now. Let me know if you have read any of these down below, if you are interested in any of these now. All of them I would recommend, right? I had like varying levels of my personal reading experience with all of these, but I would recommend all of them. Pick them up, check them out if they sound interesting. Check out other reviews, you know? And like and subscribe if you feel so inclined and have not already. Leave an emoji if you just want to say hello, but don't have anything further to add. Always appreciated. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.